Welcome into another edition of The Current Report, our weekly roundup of what's happening in the world of digital media. I'm your host, Chris Brooklier. We've seen more and more non-traditional advertising companies enter the ad game recently with their own media networks. From Uber to United Airlines leveraging their deep amounts of consumer data. Now, PayPal is the latest entrant, led by the architect of Uber's ad business, Mark Grether. With over $1 trillion of digital transactions running through PayPal every year, 400 million active accounts, and 35 million merchants on the platform, Grether believes that this 360-degree view differentiates PayPal from the rest of the retail media network market. I talked with him about why the moment is right for PayPal ads to launch and lessons he's bringing over from Uber. All right, pleased to be joined by you, Mark. Welcome to the show. It's great to have you here.
Thanks so much for having me.
All right, let's just launch into it. I'm excited for this one. So it seems like these commerce networks and ad networks and retail networks have obviously made such a big splash within the advertising industry within like the last couple of years, specifically these non-traditional ad networks. Why do you think so many of them have launched in recent years, and what's their value?
Yeah, if you think about kind of the retail media or commerce media landscape, right? One of the reasons why they have launched and why they've gotten so much traction is that they enable advertisers to engage with consumers in the moment that they make purchase decisions. Yeah, it could be they're buying a certain product on a retail website. It could be they're making a decision what to eat at night, right? And so being in this moment of transaction is really, really important, and to influence a purchase decision is really, really key for advertisers. At the same time, one of the key challenges in our industry is how do we actually measure the success of campaigns? And most retailers and commerce media players, they have access to first-party transaction data, which means they can provide closed-loop attribution back to the advertisers. And I would say those two reasons are the main factors why so many advertisers are now pouring money into retail and commerce media networks.
And as we we're just describing, there's over 200 retail media networks. What does PayPal ads offer that others don't? Like, I guess my main question is, why is the moment right now for PayPal to launch its own ad network?
If you think about the 200, right, all of them are certainly fantastic and great. But the problem is that if you are an advertising agency, right, you can't have a media plan with 200 or 300, 400 line items on the plan, right? It's just too much. You need to have a few who have reach, scale that really matters to you so that you can manage complexity in a meaningful way. Now, if you think about PayPal, right, PayPal's biggest advantage is that we have 400 million monthly users on the platform just on PayPal. We have another 90 million with Venmo, and another many millions on Honey as a browser extension. So which means we have scale from a user perspective. But equally important, we also do have scale when it comes to our merchants, because we are basically integrated with 30 million merchants when it comes to PayPal, and a few more millions when it comes to Venmo and Honey. And hence, the biggest opportunity for us is that we are able for advertisers to provide solutions across merchants at scale with high frequency, right? We are not just a solution for a single retailer with a very narrow range of products. We have data, transaction data, can provide closed-loop attribution across many, many merchants. And I think that is key, differentiated, and really exciting for our advertisers and the agency community.
That sounds like a huge unlock because you have such a greater view and a bigger scope on everything right here, right? Do you feel like that's going to like help simplify the process or make campaigns more efficient? Because I feel like that's a big challenge within retail media is looking across everything.
Exactly, I'm sure it will. Let's say you are a fashion brand, right? As an example, right? And you may sell your own products on your own website, right? But quite likely you will also sell your products on many, many different retail websites. Yeah. And so you would like to know, how am I actually doing across all the opportunities where people can actually buy my products? Now, the good news is with PayPal, we have access to that, right? We know, let's say a brand like Hugo Boss, right? How much are they selling on their own properties versus how much they're selling somewhere else, right? So we can provide to them, for example, market research insights, market share insights, right? We can tell them what's the market share. We can give them recommendations how to spend an advertising campaign with us to influence market share. We can measure how market share is actually changing over time across, again, all of the merchants, not just one merchant at a time. And I think that is a really unique and differentiated capability that only players like ourselves who are integrated on so many merchants is really key. And the other element, which I think is from a merchant perspective is interesting, many mono-brand merchants right now, they are actually not getting access to retail media dollars, because they might be too small, right, to attract money. Participating in a PayPal network enables them to participate in the retail media gold rush, right? But at the same time, it also opens up brand new supply to advertisers that advertisers in the past never had access to.
Calling it a gold rush is just something I love. I feel like it makes it so much easier to zero in on that.
Yeah, I mean, but that's what it is, right? I mean, our industry moves in ways, right? I remember, I'm in this industry now for a long time. Originally, everyone was into display, right? And there was, this is the year of mobile, this is the year of mobile. And then everyone spoke about CTV. And I would now argue the next big thing is indeed retail and commerce media. And ideally, you actually combine both, right? You combine both CTV and the commerce landscape so that you can provide to advertisers end-to-end campaigns from the creation of awareness in CTV to the transactions in a commerce environment. And you tie all that back together with closed-loop attribution based on transaction data. And that's what we can do. And again, we can do that across many, many merchants.
So how quickly do you feel like it'll take to scale up the PayPal ads operation so that you guys become a leading force within these networks?
Yeah, great question. So we will start many other retailers with our own properties, which means PayPal, Venmo, and Honey. That's what we've announced last week at Adweek together with our agency friends. And so that is now open for business starting for the holiday season, Black Friday. And then as we move into 2025, right, we will make an expand to our merchant sites and also offsite.
If we talk more about data privacy, it's becoming more regulated. Fragmentation is obviously a key issue within the industry. Do you feel like these ad networks are going to play a big part within those two issues of data privacy and fragmentation and kind of being something that helps push the industry forward for marketers and their bottom lines?
I would say that, again, in every kind of industry, right, whether it's in our industry, whether it's in the automotive industry, wherever it is, right, you always have an initial phase where you have a lot of players, right, the gold rush, yeah? And at some point in time, you then see a rationalization and an aggregation, right, into a few players at scale. Right? And I foresee the same is going to happen in our industry. And I do think that PayPal is positioned, right, to get the scale. You have to scale because we have the consumers, we have the merchants on our platform. And that's why I do think at some point that is where the travel direction is going to be. And I'm confident that PayPal is playing a really important role in this kind of future of retail and media commerce.
I feel like that makes me really think of consolidation, right? I feel like it's something that has been bubbling up more in the ecosystem in recent months. How do you view consolidation going forward within this space?
I mean, just look at the consolidation that happened in the DSP world, right? Or in the SSP world where there were so many DSPs. I remember when I was running Xaxis, right? We had so many different DSPs and so many SSPs. And now fast forward 10, 15 years later, right? It has been kind of consolidated to some extent. You always need to have your niche players and your specialists, right? But to some extent, there is versionization that happened. As I mentioned, I see the same is going to happen in commerce, because if you are a commerce player, what you need is you first have to have data and insights about audiences that truly matter for advertisers, that's differentiated for advertisers. Secondly, you must have reach and frequency, right? So that you can actually track a lot of advertising demand, and that for advertisers, it makes sense to run campaigns on your properties. You need to figure out, how do I get access to brands, right? Many merchants may not have a relationship, so it's really expensive to build your own sales force. You need to think about what technology do I use? Do I build it in-house? Should I use a third party? Is actually even my organization culturally ready to build this brand new business, which is called advertising, right? And so there are many, many factors that you need to basically cross off before you should actually invest into building your own retail media network. And that's why, again, the nature of our business, of any business, is you have many players in the beginning, but at some point, you will see that kind of rationalization, and the same is going to happen in retail media and commerce media. And who knows what is the next wave thereafter, and the movie plays again, right? And people like ourselves who have seen the movie a few times are prepared for then the next phase.
I like to go back to something that you said in your last answer. You said you've seen this movie play before, you've seen some of these movies play before. I mean, you have a ton of experience. You led the growth of Uber's ad network. Now you're here at PayPal. Are you taking any lessons from Uber to PayPal as you launch this new journey?
I mean, we all kind of take lessons from the past, right? And then refine them and kind of tweak them, and therefore try doing a better job, right? What I learned running Xaxis helped me to run Seismic. Seismic helped me to integrate a business into Amazon, and then finally building the Uber business, which was indeed informed by what I learned in the past, including at Amazon, right? And at the same time at PayPal, right? What I've learned at Uber is mission critical for PayPal, right? And one thing really that I learned and that I really appreciate is that as much as we're building an advertising business, at the end, it's all about the consumer. Right? So we need to really, really make sure that first and foremost, we bring more value to the consumers. That is number 1, 2, and 3. And then we can think about, okay, how can we now bring ads to advertisers? How can we help merchants to eventually provide more relevant shopping experiences to consumers? But the first thing is really, it's all about the consumer. And that's why at PayPal, we're working from the consumer backwards, right? And I think that's a really key kind of mantra that we're living every single day. And it's definitely something which I've learned in the past at Uber, but also at Amazon.
All right. I think that's a really good way to end it. Thank you for joining me.
Thank you so much. It was a pleasure.
Next, we're capping off this episode with one last thing. Big things are coming to the TV screen, right in the form of purchases. According to a study from eMarketer, approximately 109 million people are projected to buy items right from their TV remotes by 2027. Shoppable TV is a growing frontier, showing TV's latest evolution and an emerging way for interactive retail opportunities. In fact, 57% of ad agency professionals surveyed identified shoppable video as the next retail media frontier. And that's it for this edition of The Current Report. For a deeper dive on all these stories plus more, check out thecurrent.com. And of course, please like and subscribe on YouTube, plus leave us a review on Spotify, Apple, or wherever you listen. And if you want to hear more from The Current, listen to The Current Podcast, where we interview some of marketing's biggest leaders about their keystone career moments and where the industry is going next. We'll see you next week.